there, guys.
Hey.
Guess who's back? All
Back
the way
again.
from Budapest, Hungary. She's here, guys.
It's me.
Okay, everyone's probably really confused because they're like, it's been months since we've been
Literally,
like, on
so
the
sorry.
podcast whatsoever. Look, a lot of things happened in between that time. I think our last posting was the anniversary podcast.
Yeah, and that was like in July.
Yeah, it was in July. Our anniversary.
Damn.
Was in, yeah. So that happened, and we had 2 other recordings that were supposed to release, but one thing led to another. It's okay because we're here, we're recording, and Iman's got so many
and we just decided like not to post them right now because the information in them is just like so outdated and not really relevant. But maybe we'll do like a blast from the past episode one day and release them.
Lost episodes.
Lost episodes.
Not really though.
But before we start our podcast, good news. Actually, hold on. We might have to cut this out because no. So it's okay. I'm editing this one, so I can cut it out. Possible good news. We submitted our podcast to iTunes. So for those who listen to their podcast on the Apple Podcast app, you may be able to do so soon and listen to all of ours, and like all of our past podcasts or episodes that have been uploaded to SoundCloud and YouTube will be uploaded. All of them will be there, right there at the same time.
Which is so exciting. Which is so exciting because, I mean, a lot of the listeners who currently listen to us or want to listen to us more often are always like, up my ass.
Why aren't you on?
Why is it on iTunes?
I'm like, hey, relax, we're getting there.
Yeah. It's a work in progress, guys. We just hit a year of doing this. So
right?
like,
Wow.
Just chill for a second. But we're getting there, and we're making movement, and we have a lot planned and thinking about it.
Yeah, we're refreshed. We took the summer off, and we are now ready to go back into our podcast. But today, I don't know what episode this is, but someone's walking towards our room. By the way, guys, we're doing this in in a library. Because what's really cool for people who don't know, the Toronto Public Library, and I'm sure other public libraries around the GTA and stuff.
Yeah, don't tell them too much though, because we don't want them.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you what location we're at, but not that there's that many locations that do this. But if you check into your public libraries, I can only speak for Toronto, really. They have they're called the Innovation Hub, I believe, Digital Innovation Hub, and some certain locations around Toronto have like 3D printers and like computers that you can use, and then they also have like a green screen room where they give you equipment for you to do good equipment. Like right now we're using their mics, which were great. And they give you a room. There's like a green screen. There's lights. There's an iMac. And you can choose from so many different types of equipment, depending on what they have in stock. Cameras, mics,
Apple products.
They have so much stuff. So this is our first. We usually record at Raazia's, but then we found this out because we're like, we need to find a space for us.
Yeah, and really too, we were looking into a second mic because I don't know. Well, you probably guys wouldn't have known, or maybe through our one video, you would have seen.
Yeah, we only have one mic.
That one bubble snowball of a mic between the both of us. And so, I think we started looking and, thinking to invest in a second mic. And then, this came about, and then we're like, what the hell, no. Let's just use what they have.
Yeah.
And it sounds better.
I mean, eventually we'll try to start owning our I mean, we do have equipment. We have laptops, and we have our mic. But, owning more equipment and hopefully getting our own, permanent space. Yeah. But for right now, why not use it's free? Why don't we use what the city is offering us?
I don't know about...
Yeah, they got a ring light in here. Yeah. They got studio lights. It's...
And for future videos and stuff, which we've always wanted to do and get back into more, this is perfect. This is good.
So exciting. Exciting new content to come. Hopefully, don't hold it to us. But now... So that's why we're a little... it's new space for us, so it's how loud can we speak? And people can kind of see us, so it's ooh, this is a little weird, but anyways. This episode we are going to speak, we're going to speak about travel because we love travel, and because, as Raazia mentioned, I'm back from my trip in Budapest, which, if you guys have been listening to our podcast for a while now, know that I went and took a risk and went to live in Budapest, which is in Hungary, for those of you who aren't geographically sound. Because you would be surprised the amount of people
who are like,
I
so
said
right, where is
Budapest,
that?
and they're like, is that like Asia? And I'm like, no.
Well, someone said, would you eat?
Yeah, because Buddha, like, so they were thinking like, you know,
you could
Singapore.
See how hard
and, like,
my eyes rolled just then. Oh my god.
But I was like, no, it's in Hungary, and they're like, oh. Anyways, so I'm back. I was there for 6 weeks, living there and working with a nonprofit, and it was a really, really great time. I'm so glad that I did it. I literally no regrets, other than the fact that I'm unemployed right now. But I guess that's my choice, so I don't really regret that.
No, it's awesome. Like the entire time. Well, everybody, like you just said on the previous episodes, like we talked through, you know, your decision making, that glorious PowerPoint and stuff that you made, all this fun
Can't
stuff.
believe I made a PowerPoint. It wasn't even a PowerPoint, it was a Prezi.
Well,
like, I put work into that.
Same shit. And all this work and like thinking over, you know, what ended up being a great trip, and then all the pictures that came out of your trip that I was following on Instagram.
Oh, if you guys, sorry, this is a little plug for myself, but if you guys want to see some highlights from my trip, because I was in Budapest, but I also traveled to London, Rotterdam, and Warsaw, which is like the UK, Netherlands, and Poland, for, again, those of you who aren't geographically sound. I made a I made a nice little highlight really video on my shameful YouTube channel that I have. If you want to check it out, we'll link the link in our description, but it's Life as Iman, which is Life as IMAN on YouTube. I beg of you, don't watch my other videos. They're a little cringy.
Wonderful vlogs. What are you saying?
They're from my time that I lived in the Netherlands for 6 months, and all my traveling I did while I was doing that. But I am very proud of, not that I'm not proud of those, okay, it was a different time, but I'm very proud of the video that I put out. It's really, really short, not even 3 minutes. Really but I really enjoyed making it, and I just love watching it just to see what I did, and I miss it already. But yeah, if you guys want to check that out, go ahead and do that. But I guess we can just start talking about my trip.
Yeah, I guess, are we going to start all the way in the beginning? Like, what was it like? Like, what was it like actually leaving? Like, you're all packed, you're all ready, you're realizing you're making this decision.
Let me tell you, I have never been so unprepared mentally for a trip. And when I say that, I mean, not that I wasn't excited, and not that I knew, that I didn't know that I was going to go. Yes, I was so excited, I was so ready, I was packed, like, all that kind of stuff. But when I went to the Netherlands 2 years ago to live there, I guess, again, it's a different thing because I was there for 6 months versus 6 weeks, but I, like, was packed, like, days in advance, whereas for, like, Budapest, I packed, like, the day before, whatever. And for the Netherlands, like, I knew, like, immediately, 24 hours in advance before my flight, I was already checked in, had my seat picked out, blah, blah, blah. I knew, because I love window seats. I hate aisle and middle seats with a passion, especially middle seats. I love the window seat.
Middle seats are nothing.
So I checked in, made sure I had my seat, and that I was all ready to go and stuff like that, and it was great. But the only thing that was sucked for me, when I went to the Netherlands, was that the day I left, they sent me an email, because I went with British Airways, and they sent me an email saying my flight from, I can't remember if it was my first flight or my second flight, because I flew to London and then London to Amsterdam.
Okay.
And I can't remember which flight it was, but one of them got canceled.
No.
And then I had to, like, and because I didn't directly buy the tickets through British Airways, I bought it through, like, those sites that make it cheaper or whatever. You know, like, finding those cheap flights. And I think it was, like, through Cheapo Air or something. And so I had to do all these phone calls, like, figure out if I could still find a flight and stuff, because I had a connecting flight, and so that makes it even harder.
Right.
Because if I were to miss that, it was so stressful. But, like, good, like, alhamdulillah, I got a flight, and it was all good. Awesome. This time around, I totally forgot to check in.
Right.
And then when I remembered to check in,
that's so panicky. No, I know that.
All seats, everybody had basically already checked in, because I checked in, like, the morning of or something, and I was leaving in the evening, and everybody had already checked in, because everybody has the same idea. They want to get a good seat, and I had a middle seat, and I was like, no.
Oh, no.
I hate, like, I will take aisle or window Windows
I agree.
preferable.
It's just
Because
the
me,
worst.
I train myself, not like I mean I don't like actively train myself, but I will not let myself use the washroom on
I'm the same thing.
on
I'm
the airplane.
the exact same way.
I hate
I get
it.
nauseous right away.
The only time I have used the washroom on an airplane is if I was stuck on an airplane for like an extremely long time. So say for example Ethiopia.
Yeah.
If you take a direct flight, that's 16 hours.
Yeah.
You have to use the bathroom.
You got it.
Or you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not die, but you're not gonna feel great.
Yeah, no.
But I was like, if it's like anywhere between 1 to like 10 hours, I will not use the washroom.
Yeah.
So I make sure I use the washroom right before I get on the flight, or right before they start boarding the flight, and all that stuff. So I like the window because I don't have to get up for anybody who wants to, I don't know, use the washroom or just walk around. I'll tell you about my flight back from Budapest. I can just sit and look out the window, go to sleep. I have something to rest my head on, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shoot, I have a middle seat, whatever. I'll just like it wouldn't let me print my boarding pass. That's also something I noticed that changed because when I went to the Netherlands, like 2 years ago, I was fine. Like I got my boarding pass right away.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Okay.
And the only reason, like I already had my boarding pass, and then they printed my boarding pass for me again when I checked it because I had to check in my bag. So they just printed it out. Yeah. But when I checked in for my flight to Hungary, it was like this is not a boarding pass. You have to pick up your boarding pass at the check-in.
Okay.
And it's like, so what if you don't have to check in your luggage? You still have to wait in the freaking line. And I mean, they had a separate line for people who didn't have to check in luggage, but if it was busy, like that's annoying.
Yeah. Did you have different airlines when you went?
No, it was I can't remember. Maybe
because that's the difference maker.
Oh, it might be because it was it was international. You know why? Because when I went to the Netherlands, it was all British Airways the whole way through, but I think this one changed. I can't remember.
Interesting.
So that was like, whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll ask the guy when they print my boarding pass. I'll ask them like, is there any window seats open? And you stick me in there. And so I went, and the guy was really nice, and I was like, oh, is there any window seats? And he was like, no. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
But I got a window seat.
Yeah. Oh, you ended.
I got a window seat on the second flight.
Okay, great.
I believe, yeah. But the first flight, which is 7 hours,
yeah.
And my second flight was like an hour and a half or 2 hours, something like that. I had a middle seat, and I was like, no.
Oh my God.
And it was so bad. I was stuck between these two big guys, okay?
Oh no.
And when we got onto the plane, it was like so hot because the plane wasn't on, so the AC wasn't running. And so it was so hot in there, and I had just like, I was like, I'm not an anxious flyer. I don't get anxiety about flying. Like I don't have anxiety about being in the air in an airplane. I enjoy it. I told my mom I enjoy turbulence, and she's like, "What's wrong with you? It feels like you're on a roller coaster."
What the hell?
It does. It feels like you're on a roller coaster.
Real secret Iman here. She loves her turbulence.
Anyways, aside from that, but my anxiety comes from like it's situational anxiety. So like
social anxiety. Is it more so?
I guess you would consider it social anxiety. And again, I'm not I'm not giving myself a label. I'm not like haven't been diagnosed with anxiety, but I mean like it makes me feel uncomfortable, like to an extent where I get like really sweaty and like my heart beats really fast. And it's like because I had a really bad experience when I was going to the Netherlands when I was going from London to Amsterdam, and because they're really close together, you take a really small plane. It's like those planes with only one aisle, and I was like one of the last people to get onto the flight. But then I didn't because I was like I don't want to stand in line. But then what I didn't realize is that people take your cabin space above your seat.
Oh yeah,
because they're like, oh, someone took my cabin space. I'll take this cabin space, and then there's no cabin space left, and so I had to look for cabin space, and then I was like trying to put it up there.
You know what I hate?
And
they just watch you.
And everybody was watching me because I was like one of the last people to get on the flight, and I was so embarrassed.
I hate situations like that.
And so since then, I always love to just give
Be prepared and just go.
Well, no, I like to give in my my carry-on because sometimes if the flight is really full, they'll take your carry-on for free and check it.
Yeah.
So I'll always go to the desk and be like, hey, are you guys taking carry-ons? And then if they say yes, I'm like, okay, take mine, please. Yeah. And then if that's not the case, which it wasn't the case for when I went, I was like, oh, shit. So I like made sure I was there. But I got a spot, which isn't the issue. But yeah, I sat between these two big guys, and I did not sleep the entire time, and my neck was so stiff because I felt like I couldn't move because it's like such a squishy. It's already squishy to begin with, but then when you're with people who kind of take up more space, like guys, they love to spread themselves.
You're like elbow to elbow. Oh.
So I was just like sitting in between them, and I was like trying to watch movies to like take up the time, and I couldn't fall asleep. I couldn't. They fell asleep fine, no problem. But I was just like I can't, and then my neck hurt so much, and it was an overnight flight. So you're supposed to sleep because they turn the lights off and everything.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep. So then when I got onto my flight and then my London, I was in London for about 4 hours because that was my layover time, and I was trying so hard not to fall asleep in like the terminal because I was like someone's gonna take my stuff.
Oh my god, yeah.
And the Heathrow airport's huge, so I was like, okay, I gotta know when my gate opens, blah blah blah. And then when I got into my flight
I hate Heathrow
from London.
And there's so many times
Oh god! From London to Budapest, it was a really small, what's it called? Small plane, and they did take my carry-on this time, which was great. And I had the window seat, and there was this couple sitting beside me, and it was like mid-afternoon, and I was knocked out. Like I was so tired, and they're probably like, "What is wrong with this girl?" Like, it's the middle of the day.
And she's like,
why are you asleep? I was so tired. I was knocked out, and there's no like flight entertainment because it's a small plane, like you know.
Yeah, it's the shortest ride.
And my whole entire, let me tell you, flying to Eastern European countries is so anxious, and like it's so uncomfortable for people of color. Let me tell you that right now, because I was not only a black girl, I was a Muslim, visibly Muslim black girl. And when I got to my gate, so like in Heathrow there was like you walked whatever and you got into like this room, and where there's like chairs and stuff for you to sit, and everybody, and I mean everybody, was white. Every single person waiting for that flight was white. And they were all old white people, too. I was like, yikes. And they're all looking at me like, who is this? Who is this girl? And they were like, who is she? And I think I saw maybe like one brown guy. And he was like brown. He was like a maybe brown. Like, you know? Yeah, like you're not entirely sure.
Passable brown, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. But like, we didn't make eye contact, so that really helps. You know, I didn't have any reassurance.
To be like,
so I was just sitting there and like trying not to. And you know, people probably aren't looking at you, but you maybe get like a glance here and there, and it makes you feel like everybody's staring at you. You feel so uncomfortable. And I'm like, why am I feeling uncomfortable? I have a ticket. I know where I'm going. Like, I'm going to Budapest. But it was so, ugh. And then, but it was fine. No one actually said anything to me. And like the people sitting beside me were nice. They were like, oh, where are you going? And I was like, whatever. But and people always ask me like, oh, how was it? Like, how are the people in Budapest? Stuff like that. Because a lot of your Eastern European countries, Europe in general, isn't the greatest with Muslims. But, like, a lot of the Western European countries has bigger populations of Muslims rather than a lot of the Eastern European countries. I mean, that's a generalization because I've only been to, like, 2 Eastern European or 3 Eastern European countries. But the ones that I've been to have, like, very little Muslim population. Whereas a lot of Western European countries, due to immigration, they went to mostly they mostly went to those Western European countries like Germany, France, Italy, the UK, like all those things. And now there's more of them going into Eastern European countries, but it's still like not the same. So people were like, even my family was worried. They were like, "Are you gonna be okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm very fine." But I honestly had no issues.
Amazing.
No issues whatsoever. And like I mean that also part of it is the fact that I was in a city rather than like the countryside. But Hungary, their government is very, 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 very anti-immigration.
Oh wow.
And so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, very. They're like scared of immigrants. And that's because of the propaganda that's being released by the government. And so if you come from smaller towns and the countryside and stuff where you may not see the other side of the story, then obviously you only have one perspective. So a lot of people are really scared, but when you're in the city, you're more exposed to like immigrants or just other narratives. So some people are a little more accepting, you know, tiny bit. But yeah, I had no issues. Like whenever I go anywhere, it doesn't matter where I'm going, whether it be in North America, out of North America, it doesn't matter. Wherever I travel to, that I need to pass some sort of border control, I'm questioned a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm used to it. I'm expecting the questions, like,
Yeah.
where are you going? Why are you here? Da-da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. How long are you here for? Who are you meeting? Da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
But when I got to Hungary, first of all, it was I went through, like, everything so quickly. Right when I got off my flight, my bags were there. Took my bags, and then I just went through this little door, and then there was passport control. No line. I was like, wow.
Crazy.
Because that doesn't happen.
No, never. That's
so
like
I go,
the longest line.
Yeah, passport control, especially in Canada. Oh, dear Lord. Or the States? Woo-hoo.
That's another thing.
But, yeah, no line. I went up to this lady, gave her my passport. She opens my passport. She looks at my passport, looks at me, smiles at me. I smile back. She looks down, gives it to me. Said no words.
0 words.
And I just went.
Wow.
I was like,
crazy.
I was like, that has never happened to me in my entire, never, like, never, ever, ever. Even if it's a nice question, I always get questioned.
Right.
Even if it's like, oh, hi, like,
yeah.
No, but she said nothing.
She was just like, whatever.
And it wasn't even like a rude nothing, but because she smiled at me, so I was like, oh,
she
okay.
said, I have 0 problems.
Yeah. So I was it, and then I just went out, and then I was out, and I met my friend, and I was like, oh. This is great.
You had all the convenience in the later half of your trip, basically.
Yeah, like it was great, and but yeah, Budapest is beautiful. I highly recommend it. Anybody, don't sleep on your Eastern Europe. Do not sleep. It is so beautiful.
I know.
No matter where you go, because even there are like Western European countries are beautiful, 100%. Like you can find really urban cities, and then you can find like really still like old school European architect, like it's great, but Eastern Europe is a whole other ball game.
Whenever I look at pictures of that side of the world, it's always like stepping back in time somehow.
Yeah,
like in a good way. Obviously, something's more antique, something's just more. I don't know how to explain it. Almost fairy tale like. There's just some certain images you're just like, this is only that part of the world can ever look like this. They've maintained that look.
Yeah, and it was so beautiful. Everything was. Like in the city where I was staying, so I was staying with my friend who's been there for almost a year now, or she's coming home this weekend actually.
Oh. Wow.
And she's been there since last October 2018, and it like the security just looked in here like, who are they? So I was staying with her and with the organization that we were working with, and we so they rent out certain flats in this big apartment building, and the apartment building is in like it's like basically where all the tourists come. Like it's a very, very popular area, and so it was really close to everything. Like the tram was right there, the metro was there, like buses, and so we no issues getting anywhere. Even like walking distance, things were so close by. I have to say, their transit system, amazing.
Yeah,
love it. I love their transit system.
Europe in general, like they just have it down better.
Yeah, they do. Their transit systems are amazing. Like I love their metro. All their lines. Their tram line, their metro line, great. Love it. But it was so beautiful, and I mean the only other city I went to in Hungary was Debrecen. So I stayed in Budapest, but I was in Debrecen for 1 week when the organization was doing outreach at a festival there. And it was also really nice. But I didn't really get to see much of the city because the festival, it was like an outdoor festival. So kind of like a Coachella, but like not a music festival. so
a festival.
So it was, when I say Coachella, I mean like people camp out. And then, it's like that, but it's not a music festival.
Right.
But they had concerts, but it wasn't like,
like Lizzo wasn't showing.
No, Lizzo wasn't there.
Imagine her coming to Budapest. That'd be the best.
But yeah, so we were doing outreach there, so we got to stay there for a week, and the Airbnb we were in, it was beautiful. I was like living lavish. So Debrecen was nice.
Really quick, did you explain why you were going there to begin with? Like, just in case people haven't listened to this.
I think I was working with a nonprofit organization that was like aiding refugees that were coming into Budapest. So I don't want to say too much about it because, like I said, the country isn't welcoming. It's actually really sad. They're really anti-refugee, and the only way you can because there's a difference, right? When you say refugee, if you say migrant, if you say like asylum seeker, those are all different things, right? So you are not allowed to be in the country if you're an asylum seeker. You can only be in the country if you're a registered approved refugee.
Okay.
And a lot of the times people get approved either
Versus
before, like, say, for example, they came to the country before the laws were really strict, and they're a registered refugee, they have an ID card, whatever. And then, like, it was, say, for example, usually for most of the cases, if it's a family, it's like the husband came,
Right.
has been there for a year or two working, and then he applies for family reunification, and then his family comes, and then they're registered, and they're good. Or somehow they get in, and then they become registered. Or, like, they were at one of the transit points, and they were let in, and they got registered. However, if you're an asylum seeker and you illegally cross the borders, you're not allowed to be in that country. You will be kicked out
Wow.
and sent back to wherever you came
Oh
from,
my God.
or sent to a transit
What,
point
they
or whatever.
Like, do they evict you? Like, they just literally get you to leave your house and they just go
yeah.
on?
I mean, how are you even going to get a house? That's the thing. So what they're doing and how they're keeping people out of their country is at the transit points, at the borders, they're only allowing one asylum seeker in the country per day. And so, say, for example, you're...
Quota?
Yeah, literally
Whoa.
one. And say, for example, you're a family of 5, and they pick your 5-year-old child.
Fuck me, man. Sorry, no, but that's, like,
Yeah.
so frustrating.
And
That's
obviously,
awesome.
you're not going to let your 5-year-old child cross the border without the rest of the family.
What the hell?
And then there you go.
Yeah,
That's
you're
their,
just like,
so you're saying,
good luck,
okay,
son. Like,
that's your quota for the day. You didn't want to come through. That's not our fault. Bye.
holy moly. That's so infuriating. Well, I mean, we can, like, talk about, like, our family's immigrant stories, but, like,
Yeah.
Typically people who move from any country, and especially they do think that someone looking at us again.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
You just get used to
I
that,
think they're
guys.
just, like, curious.
Yeah. Probably people don't use this.
Yeah.
so
They're like, oh, what's this?
But a good majority of, especially like the immigrants within this area, like Markham, Scarborough, Toronto, period, nobody's really come here alone. Like, it's with families and kids and grandparents and
Yeah.
you know,
Well, yeah. Well,
bundles of people.
yeah. My dad came alone.
Yeah, and well, my dad came in
Yeah.
initially, but to bring people over
You
in
come
that
to-
situation,
yeah.
you're bringing at least like your spouse and their kids over,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, yeah, that's
It's upsetting, and it's unfortunate. And the thing is, like, people usually, for the most part, people who are fleeing their countries and coming into Hungary don't want to stay in Hungary. But the whole system in the EU is, if you want to be a part of the EU, the first country you step foot in is the country you need to stay in. So you can't, until you get your identification card that says you're a part of the EU, you are not allowed to leave and move to a different country in the EU. So a lot of these people, they're coming through Hungary and they're going, and then they try to go from Hungary and take a flight to Germany. That's because a lot of people who are immigrating or fleeing their countries are trying to go to Germany, because Germany is welcoming in refugees and migrants and asylum seekers, because they have a big gap in their, what is it called? In, like, their workforce. Like, they're missing a lot of people. They have, like, a gap for some reason. Well, like older people are retiring and not enough young people are taking, I guess, certain jobs or whatever. So they have this big gap, and they need people to fill it. Right. And so they're like, come. Come here. But that's the thing, like, that's how it works in the EU. The first country you step in, that's where you have to stay in. A lot of these people are coming into Hungary, and then they're stuck here, or they're not allowed in, you know?
One or the other. I mean, it's like worst case scenario.
So the organization I worked with helped with, like, integrating them into Hungarian society. So basically that meant, like, learning learning how to speak Hungarian, because in the city, like, a lot of people spoke English, but their main language is Hungarian. And so if you go anywhere in Hungary, that's what they're going to speak, like, especially in the countryside and stuff like that, out of the city, like, people don't really speak English. So learning the language, getting, like, your whatever criteria you need in terms of education so that you can start working, or finding you jobs, stuff like that. Like, and then finding your children's school, stuff like that. So that's what the organization did, finding housing, whatever. And it was a really good time. I got to meet a lot of really interesting people, whether they be, like, clients or people working for the organization. It was really good. Awesome. It was a really good time.
Awesome. And so what was your, just to round this out, because I think we're probably reaching or past the 30 mark.
Not yet.
No,
That's close.
So I know you spent the last week of your time there vacationing, essentially. Like, you took advantage of the fact that you were in Europe.
Yes.
As you should. Like, anybody should know this by now, that if you're already in Europe
100%.
for a trip, no matter where you are in Europe, it's always cheaper to travel within Europe when you're in Europe.
Yeah.
So might as well take that $100 or whatever you have left and like go somewhere because it's incredibly cheap. So you said Warsaw.
Mm-hmm.
You went to, oh my God, what are the other ones that you went to?
Rotterdam and London.
Okay,
Yeah.
Look at this. So what was that? What was the best out of those three? You've been to London before?
I've been to London and Rotterdam.
Okay.
So my friend that I was with, Stephanie.
Yeah.
We both did our exchange in Rotterdam for the 6 months, but we did them at separate years. So she went the year before me,
Right.
and then the year after her, I went.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to do Rotterdam because like we just wanted to visit. We love the city, and she also she has family there, so she wanted to visit family. So that was the reason why we picked Rotterdam. London, I've been, but Stephanie had never been, and I love London. I will always go back to London. So I was like, sure. And then we were like, okay, let's pick something we both haven't done, and that was Warsaw. And I wanted to do that because it's a little bit out, again, like Budapest, it's a little out of my comfort zone.
Right.
Because people are always like, ooh, Eastern Europe, like racist. And I was like,
Yeah.
So I went, but I, again, never had any issues.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you just have to, like, you can, 100% you're going to get looks.
Yeah.
100% people may not like you, but a lot of the times they won't say it out loud.
Yeah. I don't think unless you're asking for trouble, it won't come to you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always good to be wary. It's always good to be cautious, but like, don't let it hold you back from seeing everything the world has to offer. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Yeah. So, we went to London first, and that was our longest stay. We were there for like 5 days. Yeah, I love London, but my wallet does not love London.
Oh my God, yeah, euros.
Because no, it's the pound. The pound. They have the pound. Euros. No. Euros is like basically almost any country a part of the EU uses the euro. Not all, because a lot of Eastern European, like Hungary they have the Hungarian forint. Okay. Like Warsaw Poland has their own currency.
Definitely uses euro.
Yeah. Like say for example, the Netherlands, Portugal, France, like those places they use the euro. Yeah. But London they use the pound. Or UK in general. And so it is not a cute exchange rate, okay? Like, it almost cuts the Canadian dollar in half. Yeah. And so it really upset me. It was so sad. But we went to Primark, of course, because when you go to London, you go to Primark, of course. Yeah. And we made sure to go to the big one, the one on Oxford Street. And I loved it. We spent like a whole day in Primark, and I'm not even kidding. Like you think we're kidding, but I'm not kidding. No. We planned our day.
If we didn't do that,
we were like, this day we're going to Primark,
no judgment
and Primark only. But it was so much fun. Like we went to, we did a lot of the touristy things in one day because I've already seen them, and but Stephanie hadn't, and she has a friend living there who she met from exchange, so we met up with her. She was really cool, named Catherine. Shout out to you. Probably not listening to this, but woo. She was really, really nice, and she took us like on the tour of the city. I feel so bad for Stephanie though because Big Ben's under construction. But when I went, I saw it.
You saw it fully, right?
I saw it fully, but it looks bad. It's under construction. Like they've like stripped it down. Yeah, it's under construction, so it literally just looks like wires and. Which sucks.
The London Bridge is right there, so that's something.
Yeah, so we saw like London Bridge, Tower Bridge, and London Bridge. Yeah, I think that's what they're called. There's like two different bridges. And like the London Eye, whatever. We didn't go up the line. That's a waste of money. Never do that.
Okay. I've seen it from afar.
Yeah. But yeah, we just walked around. But it was so busy because, first of all, it's tourist season when we went. Like the first time I went to London was May, so it didn't really hit tourist season yet, which was great because it wasn't super busy. But it was tourist season when we went this time. And on top of that, there was some sort of bike race going on in like London around the city. So all the roads were blocked. I don't know what it was, but something was going on. And all the roads were like blocked. And I was like, God damn. Yeah. So it really took us so long to get around the city when it shouldn't have taken that long to begin with. But so one day we spent touring around, seeing what's up. And then one day we spent at Primark. And then we went to Camden Town, which is like our Kensington Market. That's like their version of it. But it's like much bigger. Okay. and really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you go like when you want to get all your touristy stuff, but also want to get like artisan kind of like unique kind of things as well. So we went there, and they have a really cool like food market thing too. It was really cool. And then other days we just walked around. We went to Nando's. First of all, Nando's is so much better in the UK than it is in Toronto. Like, you don't understand.
Is it because did they start there?
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
Nando's is like, if you can't even compare. Like, it's
man.
it's
that's something
so
I haven't done.
good.
That's something I fully
We went twice. It was so good because there was one right by our hostel.
Oh, you're definitely
So the first day we got there, we went, and the last day we were there, we went. So good. But yeah, that was London. Like, London, it's so city, like, it's so like Toronto, so it's like you kind of feel like you're doing kind of the same things you would do when you're in Toronto, but
there's some comfort
with an accent.
With an accent, there's more red buses around.
Yeah.
More red than the buses we have here.
Yeah. And the tube, oh my god, I love taking the tube.
Yeah, that's always told it's like the easiest, most simple.
Yeah, it's pretty like big. Theirs is really, really big, but I love it. It's so expensive. It's one of the most expensive transit systems or costs for transit in the world.
And I've heard, this is like old like knowledge from like back in when YouTube had a lot of British YouTubers that were big. Remember that?
Yeah.
They used to always say, like, a lot of young British people never used to own cars because it's super,
Yeah.
you're super able to kind of go anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Unless if you're not in the city, then like.
Yeah. But then, I mean, they're working within that vicinity,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, oh, it's so efficient. Everything there seems like just easy.
Yeah. So it was really, really, like, I really enjoyed it. And then we were in Rotterdam only for like 3 days. So like 2 full days, and then the next day we left, which was sad because I didn't realize how much I missed it. So like when I got there, I was like,
you're like,
it's like, why didn't we stay longer? And I had told Stephanie, I was like, we should probably stay longer. She's like, but we've already been there. And I was like, but we're gonna want to stay longer. And I was like, I told you we're gonna want to stay longer. But I had such a good time. It was like so nostalgic. I was like, oh my god, I miss this. And again, their transit system is amazing. Their bike system, amazing. Like it's integrated into all their roads.
They're so crazy.
Like you can find bike lanes everywhere, and it really well. Like they have their own lights, everything. Like they're so good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love that.
So that was great. And then Poland, like Warsaw, was also really good. We were only there for 2 days, and then the first day we got there in the afternoon, and we were so tired because the way our trip had gone, it was like very go, go, go. So it was like fly in, stay for a little bit, and then our flights would be like super early in the morning. So we would have to wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning to get to the airport, because the airports are never in the city. You have to like travel outside of the city to go to the airport. So we were so tired at that point. This is our last stop. And we were also like, kind of like, oh, we wanted to stay in Rotterdam longer. And so we were like, ugh, whatever, Poland. Like, I don't even think we're going to like it. Like, this we were kind of saying. So when we got there, it was like 3, and we were so hungry. So we ate lunch we were in a hotel. Yeah. Because we got it for cheaper than if we were to be in a hostel. Okay. But I'm always a hostel person. Right. Like, if you want to travel cheap. Yeah, so we were in a hotel. We ate in the hotel, and then we were like, we're so tired. We're just going to go to sleep. And we woke up at like 7 p.m. And then so we just went out for dinner. We just like walked around until we found a nice place and then ate dinner. And then we were like, okay, tomorrow, because we had a full day, we will like actually spend the day and travel around and like get to see things. So we saw 2 major things. We went to this park. I can't remember the name of it. Because I'm a bad traveler. Okay. We went to this park. It was beautiful. And we took Ubers everywhere because it was so cheap. Right. Yeah, that's the best. Everywhere else, we would take transit, but like the Ubers were so cheap, we were like, nah, we're gonna take. No, whatever. Yeah, it was Lazienki Park. I don't know how to say it. Okay, but that's what it was called. And beautiful. Oh my god, it's like this. It's really big. Okay. And like. You can spend hours in there. Right. But we wanted to see Old Town Warsaw as well the same day. Right. So we walked around the park there. It was so pretty. There was like waterfalls. And
is it more like a garden or like a bigger Central Park type of park?
I would say like garden-ish. Because there were still like really big forest areas, like big trees and stuff like that. But a lot of nice flowers, and like there was different buildings. I don't know what their significance was. Yeah. But they were there. But it was really nice. Really beautiful. It was nice to just be in nature for a little bit. And then after that, we went to the
Sorry, I keep yawning.
No, it's okay. We went to like the Old Town Warsaw, which is pretty. It's so beautiful, and that town, that area has been completely rebuilt
Okay.
because it was completely destroyed in the World War II, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
World War II, and so it was completely destroyed, which is not similar to like Krakow, because a lot of people go to Krakow because people go to Krakow and Warsaw when they come to Poland,
Okay.
because those are like the two big cities. But Krakow, a lot of people go because a lot of the buildings and stuff that were around World War II and the whole Nazi situation,
Yeah.
like that's still preserved.
Okay.
So that's why for historical purposes, a lot of people go to Krakow.
Yeah.
But there was stuff that happened in Warsaw as well, but because that town was completely destroyed because of the war, and it was rebuilt like in its replica, like so it looks like pretty much exactly the same,
Right.
but it's not authentic. I guess not authentic.
Right.
But it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It was really nice, like different colorful buildings, but you could tell it's a tourist attraction because like there's, the street vendors and like the souvenir shops and like those people with those flashing balloons, like
yeah. You can't go travel without seeing something.
Yeah, and then tourists
Love that.
everywhere, but it was still really nice. And they had a lot of like these outdoor restaurants, so you sat kind of like patio restaurants. So we had lunch there. It was really nice. So I really enjoyed it. We definitely weren't there for long enough where we could explore a bit
See all
more,
of it. Yeah.
but it was definitely worth the trip.
Yeah.
And like, people, because especially when you're coming from Canada, it's like people are like, when you travel, especially if you're like me and you're broke, when you travel, you don't want to go to the same places over and over again because that's money. Like, you want to see something new.
And you're taking time out.
But like, I'm not done with your,
Right.
like, there's still so much I want to see.
Yeah.
And in countries that I've already been.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No,
like,
I fully get that.
I've been to Paris, but I haven't been to like Lyon. I haven't been to Nice and Lyon and Marseille. Like, there's so many places that you want to go, but it's like, I'm not rich.
Yeah, I know that, and like I feel like any brown parent is like the complete opposite mindset of like, you've already been there, so why are you going again?
Yeah,
like,
or like you traveled too much.
Or that, if you're us, yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm exactly that way with any part of Asia. Like, I'm like, please take me back to Japan every year if I could. Like, I fully would, because I'm obsessed with the country, and people forget that even though like on a map Japan is like looks like a sliver of a country, but it's huge. Like, and every part of it is very different. Like, if you're in Tokyo, it's a complete urban, like, just, it's so noisy and it's just that kind of a space. Mm-hmm. And then Kyoto, which used to be the old capital of Japan, is like literally flip opposite of, it's very countryside, it's very like old traditional, Japanese houses with the wooden bamboo and the sliding doors and everything. That's still there. That's still a very thriving like, town or city or whatever. So, and that whole side of it I haven't seen, because you have to take a second flight just to get there from Tokyo. Yeah. So things. I can't. In short, I'm completely sympathize with you because yeah. And it's just like, I want to go back to these places and explore more and like, but also there's so many other places that I haven't been before that I want to see, like continents that I haven't been to. Yeah. Like, I haven't been to Asia at all. Yeah, which is insane because I want to go so bad, especially like Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, like those 4, like definitely I want to see. I've been to Africa, but there's more of Africa that I want to see. I've never been to South America. Like, I haven't touched that. But there's a lot of stigma around that too. With like, again, going back to brown parents with like, crime and that kind of stuff, which is so bad to say. Yeah. But that's what you hear, and then it's just the same thing as like the European or Eastern European thing too, of like, oh, but people look at you different and whatever, you're gonna get in trouble. But it's like, you're telling me if I got the chance to go to Brazil, I would say no. Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. And it's like, and it's so funny for me because 2 of my major trips happened within a 2-year break. Yeah. So I went in 2017 for 6 months to the Netherlands, and that was for school. Yeah. But I still got to travel. No, cool. Yes. And then now, 2019, I went to Budapest for 6 weeks. And that, like, it wasn't a paid work, but I still worked, and it was a volunteer internship, but like it was cool. It's a work experience for sure. Yeah. And like my parents are like, "This is too much." Yeah. And I'm like, "It's been 2 years." It's not like I'm going like every
couple months or
No.
whatever, and it's just like,
purpose for it.
yeah, and
you're not doing leisure travel.
exactly.
Which is, come on, like, yeah.
And then I remember when I came back and my family's like, "Hey, you're done," and I'm like, "Ha ha ha."
You know, you're like in your head already.
And I'm already
next,
but seriously, because I'm already considering going to Vancouver in October.
There you go.
Because Lumis moved to Vancouver. Did I tell you this?
You did tell me.
My friend moved to Vancouver, and I've never been to. Only other province I've ever been to in Canada is Quebec.
Same. Yeah, me too. What?
So I've never been to any other province. So because it's freaking expensive to travel in this country.
And
like
it's
Europe, it's like
you
can and it's like Europe. You're like, oh, you can go here for like
period to stay
40
there,
euros,
there.
And plus Vancouver isn't cheap either.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So hopefully I'll be able to go do that. So I'm already thinking of my next trip. Like I've had a travel bug since 2017, and I have to wait 2 years.
I know.
2 years.
I feel like it's been sitting with me too, man. Okay, first of all, because before I make it slip my mind, the first time you go to Asia, can I meet you there or like come with you?
100%.
Freaking, that's like my spot. I'm so ready. Like that just makes me so happy. Just the idea of it. But I'm so excited that you actually made the jump for it. Like just full circle, bringing it back home. Like this is something like I think is also important for people to hear. That if you have a plan in mind of wanting to go somewhere, because if you're in a situation like Iman of knowing someone somewhere for work or for school,
take advantage. Because I got my housing for free, that is a big cost saver. Because people are like, because they hear it's like a volunteer internship, so like, oh, are they covering your flight or whatever? Like, whatever. And I'm like, no, I pay for my flight and paying for my food, but I get my housing free.
Right.
And like some people think that's not worth it, but housing is expensive.
And also you're there with somebody.
Like if you're in a hotel or a hostel,
so much
regardless.
More fun to travel with people, so having the other person.
And it was a really good experience. I really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that I took the risk to do it.
Yeah.
Because I definitely would have regretted it. Yeah. Like, I would have been here right now, like, gosh, I should have gone.
Yeah. For sure.
So I'm really glad I did it. And that's one thing I never want to regret. And I don't regret going. So that's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, and it's on my resume now, and I've, like, gone for a couple of interviews, and they're like, oh, like, you just did this. What was that like? That looks cool. And I'm like, so I came from... I came from Budapest, and I was working at this nonprofit organization, and and they're like, wow. And I'm like, I know.
You're so cute. Yeah, I know. It's just like it's just good, especially like at our age. Like so many people around you, anyways, are going out for school or for whatever reason. Yeah. Just take advantage. Just jump on that same train.
I mean, the time is now.
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity, the time is now. And obviously, like I think I mentioned this before in a different episode, and like I'm very privileged because I have a supportive family. I had a job, and I was able to. I had a steady like full-time job, and I was able to save up the money to do this trip. I'm very privileged that I had a friend who could get me free housing. Like there's so many things that so many like opportunities that were kind of presented towards me, and that's not always the case for people. Travel can be a part of anybody's lives. You don't have to be a certain person to travel, which a lot of the times people make you feel like you have to be a certain person. You have to be rich.
And you don't have to travel
be white
the same way everybody else did that.
to travel, and that's definitely not the case.
And just travel for yourself too. I don't think that you also have to make it like this. I mean, it's kind of an Instagram thing right now of like if you go somewhere, like I think it's hard to document it. I think for yourself at least.
Document it, but it doesn't. You don't have to post it. If you want to post it, go for it. But like it shouldn't be for the post.
Yeah, you shouldn't feel like you have to do that millennial package of a thing to like if you're gonna go somewhere, put it on your story, do this, whatever, do the whole. If you want to and you love it and that's part of like what experience you want to have, fine, but never include that like some weird social pressure of like having to make it a thing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I mean like
for
me it's like I love talking about travel, and I know that I can talk too much about it. Like people are like shut up. Right, they're like shut up. Like that's enough. Like you and I feel like that's what I always feel like when I come back from a trip and everybody's like, hey, how was your trip? How's your trip? And then like I keep talking about it and they're like, hey, like that's enough. But I can talk about it. I can talk about it forever, but it's definitely something like it's so refreshing. When you travel, it should be for yourself, and it should be for a good beneficial reason. So like for me, this certain trip, it was not only the fact that it's something that I'm passionate about. I want to go. I worked for a nonprofit before I went on my trip. Nonprofit. I'm doing my studies in nonprofit management. I want to do my master's in philanthropy.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Philanthropy.
I always say it wrong, and then it's like,
no?
I don't know why I say it like that, and it's like I'm trying to do my master's in it. Damn.
It's okay.
Philanthropy.
You did it. No, you did it.
Wow, it's embarrassing. Anyways, like, so I knew it could be beneficial for it to be on my resume because, for my master's application, for job applications, like, it's cool. That's good.
Absolutely.
But also, it was for my own mental health. Like, I was getting to a point where, I loved what I was doing at work, and I loved the people that I work with, and I always, like, at the end of the day or at the end of the week or whatever, when I would reflect on what I was doing at work, I could always say, like, there was always good points throughout the week where I could say, this is why I do what I do.
Right.
But I was also at a point where I was so drained mentally. And when you're mentally drained, that also can physically drain you.
Absolutely.
And it was just, like, it was a really stressful, especially towards the end. And so I'm so glad I did this for myself because I came back rejuvenated. I was so relaxed. Yeah. I was so, like... It was great.
I think you showed the last time you came to. Sorry, this is a complete tangent. But like the last time you came to my place and like we discussed before we didn't actually record any.
Yeah.
This is the first time since you came back that we're recording. But like that whole session that we did of like talking about what we want to do for the podcast. I don't know if you felt it, but I was like, okay, we're on like a different bit of a rhythm.
Yeah.
Before.
Because I don't know. Like I feel like there was like before I went on my trip, it was just like everything has been exhausted. Like all my. I've been drained, of like energy.
You were doing everything at once.
And so like definitely this trip gave me that like that boost of exactly, like that passion again. So it's definitely something that I recommend for everybody to do, even if it's a small trip, like whether it be long, whether it be a weekend, take your time for yourself. Take time. Well, jump is a little.
Do we have time to talk about my little trip that I'm going on?
Sure. I mean, go for it.
Okay. So like speaking of like a short trip that if you need it in your life because you've just been juggling so much as I have, I'm going to San Fran I think next month, which is like super soon.
That's exciting.
Like I booked it in advance and everything. I was way too prepared for this one, so I was like, what? It's actually So it's coming around pretty quick. Never been there. Specifically, never been to Cali in general either. So
I love California.
Yeah, and
I've always told you.
Right, and a lot of people have been talking it up for me too. Like even from before, people have told me that like San Fran would be like your city, like Raazia, like it would speak to you, and I'm like, okay, it's probably because it's like urban, whatever.
Yeah.
Get it? Okay. Yeah. But I'm going because I have family there who recently moved there, and my nephew's birthday is in October, so. To give him company and to give him a bit of a surprise. I'm kind of so excited about just that moment of like landing, getting to their place, and then just knocking on their door, and then him walking out in like his onesies because it'll probably be like night by the time I get or early morning.
Yeah.
And it's just that little when he walks in his onesies with what I'm saying. Feet. Oh man, it's just him. Like I just want to see his reaction.
He's gonna be because he doesn't know you're coming.
No, I fully have I've made it a thing that he has no idea that I'm coming.
That's gonna be nice.
And he's just his reaction. Like I for sure will be recording that because because I think only after this trip he like really understood what distance is like. Because
because he's young. Like he doesn't, and he's always been surrounded by your family.
Yeah, he's only ever been in Canada too.
Yeah.
So like when you talk about like. Back home or like Sri Lanka or any other countries, he doesn't really realize like how far away those people are. Or when he talks to his grandparents on his other side, like my sister-in-law's side, like I don't think he has a real concept of like how far they are, right? So it's only after this trip that he's like kind of been missing everybody, and he's like, oh, okay, Canada is far away, that kind of thing. So and I want him to see like. Yeah, just the whole...
That's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see that. Make sure you record it.
Yeah, I will. I will be doing the whole Instagram thing, just so you know. I will be putting on my story.
Oh my god, San Francisco. I haven't been, but like... Yeah. It looks like an amazing city from what I've seen of That's So Raven. So...
Yeah, that and like...
I want to live my That's So Raven life.
And like, I'm so big on like... food being like a priority when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
And like the seafood there, like it's by the bay, right?
I'm not a seafood person.
You're not a seafood person.
No, except for salmon. I like salmon.
Oh my god. I fully am. So I'm like,
I know.
I'm like I'm like ready with like a full itinerary. Like I have it on a Google Doc. I'm sharing with my sister-in-law right now to be like, this is where I expect to go when I'm there. Just so you know.
But yeah,
I'm psyched.
that's exciting.
Yeah.
So you going to San Fran, I'm going to Vancouver, and who knows in the future. But we'll wrap it up now because we're getting a little close to the hour mark, and we were going to only record for 30 minutes. But, you know, this is what I said. We can talk about travel forever.
Anyway, so we're making up
But,
for
anyways, guys, thanks for listening to our
Wow.
to our first episode back from our long break. I can't promise it won't happen again.
No.
but we're definitely
I'm so confident right now. What the hell? Don't expect it.
No, we do have a lot of really cool ideas that we're planning,
Yes.
and oh my god, there's like one in specific that we are really excited
like
to
we're both
do.
smiling so hard
but-
right now because we're like, you guys
Like
are
we're
freaking
we
awesome.
look like the Joker, but no, we're really excited, and we can't say anything now because
No.
nothing has
No,
really
no,
been
no,
put
no,
into
no, no,
place.
no.
It's just an idea on paper,
You'll see it when it comes out.
but whoo. It's going to be a good one. But other than that, we'll see you guys on the it's been so long.
I know.
We'll talk to you guys on the next one. Bye.